Okay, so I think it's fair to say that, from an onshore perspective, from an offshore perspective, we see a lot of the same problems, especially common mistakes that investors make, either through a lack of knowledge or intimidation around legal fees. What do you do to protect yourself? What steps should you be taking?
So I'll go back to the main kind of disputes and the type of documentation we receive, and I will specifically talk about the outcome of each scenario. For instance, the common tool we see on a weekly basis, which is the loan agreement and the loan arrangement. So this type of arrangement doesn't actually allow you to be a partner in the company, and you will not be entitled of any profit, you will not be entitled of any voting rights, etc., in the event that you created a loan agreement. Besides, there is more complications around the interest, if there is any interest agreed on this in this loan agreement.
The local law being
the local
Sharia
law,
based, right?
exactly, not the Sharia based, even the civil law. There is some restrictions in terms of the interest, and they are more restricted to the financial institutions such as banks and licensed institutions. So if you as an individual or as a company created a loan agreement and had the interest factor in that agreement, there is multiple complications in that. And you will not be considered as a partner. This is for sure. This is a different scenario. And then we have the investment and the short investment. And in some situations, we see a fixed return agreements, which is also more complicated than profits as well, which we do not suggest. And number 3 is the proper partnership arrangement with a notarized agreement in the notary public and the official trade license showing your ownership on those shares. What does that mean? It will give you the rights to vote, to basically to question the manager duties and responsibilities, etc. So you will have the whole rights as a partner by ensuring that you have this proper SPA in place. And this is what we usually recommend to people investing in companies.
And SPA is a share purchase
Shares
agreement.
and purchase
You're buying
agreement.
shares in the company.
Yeah, the regular registration process which happens in the economic departments in the Emirates and the free zones as well, they have their registrars as well. So with that in place, you will have the, let's say, the sufficient protection for you as a shareholder, as an investor.
So if I buy shares in an onshore company, I have to register that ownership with the local authorities, and that gives me protection.
Absolutely.
That I own the shares.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
This is what we usually recommend to most of the investors to have in place. And then we have the most complicated scenario of people transferring a certain fund with a certain understanding with the partners that they will be included in the partner list and they will be actually holding shares in that company. So that's the highest risk. This is the most complicated situation, and we totally do not recommend this type of arrangement because the transfer by itself is not considered as a partnership agreement. It's not considered as a payment. It's by default considered a repayment of a loan. This is the main understanding here. So this is something most of the people do not realize. Unless you have something to support this transfer, to basically to prove that there is a certain understanding behind this simple transfer of funds, then you will not be able to prove anything.
So just understand it, to give an example. So I'm investing in your business. I give you a sum of money.
Yeah.
And I believe in good faith as a kind of common understanding between us that I'll get a return from the business in exchange for the money I'm giving. And now any return I get back from you, if we haven't properly documented that and put it in a form of agreement, it's just treated as a matter of law, as a repayment of a loan, rather than me having a ownership stake in the company.
Absolutely. You may even lose your capital, which you transferred to me at the beginning, Versus, I mean, these are very similar arrangements, the loan agreement and the transfer, the simple transfer. However, in the loan agreement, you can secure at least your capital.
Yeah.
But you will not have any rights on profits, voting, etc. In the second situation, if you transfer without any supporting document, that's a high risk move, which may lead to a loss of the capital itself if you don't have anything that proves that this transfer was a reason of a loan or a reason of partnership or etc. So we always recommend and suggest and ask clients to make sure that there is at least a minimum amount of communication to document this understanding between you and the other party.
Yeah, I mean, this comes back to my observation. Like, there's a lot of trust and good faith amongst the business culture in the UAE and the Middle East generally.
Yeah.
And I guess what you're saying is that if you're going to do a loan, document it as a loan, because then if you don't get repaid, you've got a debt claim. If you're buying an ownership stake in a company, make sure it's clear that you're buying shares, because then even if you lose the money you've invested, you've got an ownership stake in the company and you can recover assets.
Exactly.
But if it falls somewhere in between and it's not clear, you're saying you're exposed, there's a huge risk.
Absolutely.
And from a legal perspective, you're vulnerable.
And you're creating this high-risk situation, this high-risk case at the very beginning, which you are, let's say, not forced to create at the very beginning of this investment or this arrangement. And that's why we always try to educate clients and I mean, let them know about the risks they are entering into in this type of...
Because presumably when you see these instances, it's when it's gone wrong, right?
Absolutely.
And they're like, well, this is what I thought happened. And unfortunately you're saying, look, it's hard to prove if you don't have it in writing.
And this is the reason we are doing such a video, because we don't want to see these type of cases frequently. As we said, it's a very attractive region for investors, for businesses, but we'd like to avoid this type of scenarios and situations.